Hey, algebra students. You might be thinking, Kate, I'm a beginning student, but we've done stuff like this a million times. Don't really need you right now. Oh, well, I have a trick up my sleeve. You know how I am. Let's take a look. Solve 8 equals 40p. Super simple, right? We just want to get p alone, but very common error. Most newbie students do something silly right now. They go, okay, I'll divide both sides by 8 and p equals 5 and I'm done. I remember everything you taught me about algebra, Kate. I'm super excited. And I would say to you, well, you forgot something, and that's your goal. Your goal is not just to move numbers around because it's fun. Your goal is to get p alone so you know what it's equivalent to. So I'm going to bust out what we were doing way back at the beginning with our lines through the equal sign. And it's problems like this why I want you guys to have them. Look at where p is. P's over there on the right-hand side of the equation, and p is being multiplied not by 8. 8's on the other side. Don't try to move 8. 8's already where he needs to be. 8's not with p. 40 is with p. So the number that you have to get rid of is 40. Now, I agree with you, 40 is a multiplier. He's shoved against p, so I'll divide. But then I need to jump across the equal sign, and I'm going to divide by 40 there too. Now, here's another error students make, so don't do this either. But a lot of students just don't like that order, and so they'll flip the order. They'll see that 8 over 40, and they'll type it into their calculator as 40 divided by 8, and then they still get 5. But careful, 8 divided by 40 is not the same as 40 divided by 8. Order matters in division because what division means, guys. In 40 divided by 8, which I can write like this or like this, I'm saying take 40 things. I'm saying take 40 things, and I'm not going to draw it all 40, okay, you guys? And then make groups of 8, and then how many groups of 8 are you going to get? So I'm taking 40 things and I'm breaking it into 8 groups or groups of 8. But that's different than 8 over 40 or 8 divided by 40. What I'm saying in a case like this is I only have 8 things, and I need you to divide it into 40 groups. 40. I'm going to end up with some tiny little pieces. It's like you have $8 and you want to share with 40 people. You're not ending up with $5 each. You wish, right? You're going to end up with cents. You're going to end up with pieces. You're going to end up with parts. So y'all need to break that kind of bad habit that you have of thinking if the answer is type of number that makes you uncomfortable, it must be a wrong answer. Well, guys, there's pieces and parts in the world. And so there's going to be pieces and parts in math. That being said, there's 2 ways to talk about pieces and parts: decimals and fractions. And you might say, well, which one's the right one? Either one could be right. So what I usually, first would do is just do 8 divided by 40. And when you use the divide by key in your calculator, you do tend to get that decimal. And so I see that 0.2 is equivalent to p. All right. But I have no guarantees that the multiple choice answers on the GED are going to be in decimal form. In fact, I would expect with a problem like this, they would be more likely to be in fraction form. In pure algebra, this is just pure algebra, it's just solve an equation. There's no real world context, there's no word problem, there's no geometry. In pure algebra, we usually prefer fractions. We do. And so the quick way, if you have an answer in a form that is not what you want, is just hit that quick convert button. And you can see that that's the same thing as 1/5. Another way you could do it is you could use the fraction bar right from the start. You could have done 8 n over d to do divided by 40. And when you input it as a fraction, your calculator is going to assume that you want the answer as a fraction. It doesn't matter which way you get there. Okay, and now I'll deal with the question, everybody's favorite question. But Kate, which one is right? Yes. Which one is right? They're both right, guys. Okay, 0.2, also called 2/10, and 1/5 are exactly, totally, and completely equivalent in every way. They are both right. They are both good. If there's any test in the whole world where you selected one of those And they said you were wrong because you didn't select the other without specifying to you that they wanted a decimal or fraction. If they tell you they want one and you don't give it to them, they can mark you wrong because you weren't obedient, guys. But if they don't tell you, this problem doesn't tell you, either one is going to be right. So either it's going to be multiple choice and you'll see by the multiple choice which one, or if it's fill in the blank, you would be able to type in either. That being said, that is not always the case. Imagine that if instead of it saying 8 is equal to 40p, it said 8 is equal to 39p. So same first step, right? 39 is multiplying with p. I want to get p alone, so I'll divide it away. I can do whatever I want as long as I do it to both sides. On the right-hand side, p's alone just like I wanted, but on this left-hand side, look what happens if I do 8 divided by 39 with the divide by symbol. I have a long, ugly decimal that in fact has been rounded. Your calculator rounded it for you because there's only so much room on the screen. Okay, it would keep going. I don't want that answer because it's not exact unless I ask for it or it makes sense in that given situation. So like, here's a great example. I could ask for it by saying round to the nearest tenth. You're like, oh, decimal language, she asked for it. Or it could make sense. Like this could be a money problem. P could be the amount of dollars you want for your allowance, in which case it would make sense to round it because money we use decimals for. Okay, but with no context like this, there's nothing else going on in this problem. It's just straight algebra. I would prefer a fraction. So way better to put it in as a fraction, 8 over 39, enter it to make sure your calculator reduces if it needs to be reduced. This particular one does not reduce. And that is a better final answer. So here's what I want you to walk away from this video with. 1, pay good attention to where the letter is. Don't just autopilot move whatever number. Okay, you want to move away the numbers that are with the letter, so the letter will be alone. 2, order matters in division, guys. It's top divided by bottom. You don't get to flip it so that it makes you comfortable. Okay, and 3, decimals and fractions are interchangeable. Either one's good if they're exact. But if it's a long, ugly decimal that needs some rounding, don't you do it without permission. Keep it as a fraction instead. All right, simple little problem, lots to learn. Proud of you guys. Happy learning.